is up? Sexy people of the internet. It is Dave. It is Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Los Angeles-based dream metal band IRESS. The band's new album, Sleep Now in Reverse, will be released on July 26th via Church Road Records and Dune Altar in the US. Okay, so formed in the musical crucible of Los Angeles.
Crucible! Whoever wrote that? So, I love the English language. I keep telling you this. Every now and again, someone that writes PR drops something. I'm like, that's a fucking great word. Well done. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
Congrats. In 2010, IRESS's music is the sonic equivalent of standing on a beach as a tidal wave approaches, aware of certain devastation, yet transfixed and grateful to witness something so terrifyingly beautiful. Drawing inspiration from dark yet commanding elements including metal, shoegaze and slowcore, their music presents a cinematic crescendo that swells with intensity and wanes with sorrow. Over the last years, IRESS have evolved, always exploring new dimensions in their sound, yet always showcasing frontwoman Michelle Malley's equally fragile and ferocious vocals. Their intentionality in crafting concise songs, each flickering into existence with magnificent intensity, aligns with nuanced storytelling. With their upcoming LP, Sleep Now in Reverse, and an international touring schedule in 2024, IRESS invites listeners to be transported to a realm where darkness and beauty intertwine. The album was produced and mixed by Alex Estrada at the Pale Moon Ranch, then mastered by Adam Chichoki at Timber Studios.
What was that surname?
Chichoki. Kichoki? No, maybe Sichoki. I don't know. Apologies for fucking up your name, Adam. Apologies.
I'm overjoyed that I made you do it again.
Like you, Duncan.
Incidentally, slowcore is how my wife describes my hoovering. Look up, I'm tidy, slowcore. And then she takes the hoover off me, and then she's quicker.
Quickcore.
And then I don't have to do it again. Slowcore.
That's clever. I see that.
Thank you.
This band, I think I mentioned on our albums to watch for 2024 video, because
which we've established recently. I clearly did not pay attention. I was like, I've got a list here. You can keep your list. I will not
don't care what's on your list, Dave. No listening to you.
That's albums you're looking forward to. Why would I pay attention to that list?
I mentioned it because they signed to Church Road Records. Well, I think it was last year. It was announced last year. And I knew it was going to be a release for us to check out, because every single thing that Church Road put out right now is just fucking incredible.
One of the more diverse record labels out there, but diverse and incredibly gifted at ensuring quality.
Oh, quality.
I can't remember the last release, even if it's in a genre which I am not necessarily swinging from the rafters to hear another band that does Blackened anything. Yeah. But then I listen to something, and the quality control over there and who they get on their label is kind of exceptional. And we are really living through it this year. Some of the stuff that Church Road's put out this year has just been insanely good as a label.
Of the year.
I did not know IRESS were from them, and I am now. It's all making sense, Dave.
Well, I listened to one single from this album before we got it in for review.
Did you stop yourself at that point, or were you was there only one that you were aware of? So you were no more of this.
I listened to
the
one.
album
and I was
has arrived.
Okay, heard that one single. That's fine. Knew it was Church Roads. I was so it's going to come in. Just we'll leave it at that. I also thought Duncan's been hankering and talking and waiting for a certain artist.
You've been spying on me. You should not have seen me hankering. Right now, that's not a pleasant sight at all. No one wants to see that.
You've mentioned on numerous occasions that you've been waiting for a certain artist to drop new music this year. And then when I heard that, I was like, I wonder if that might quench his thirst for that. If this might just get them through 2024.
Maybe.
So, Duncan, was I right? Did IRESS's new album, Sleep Now in Reverse, get you through it?
Are you asking me, did it fill a king woman-sized hole in my heart? The answer to that question is yes, it did. So yeah, I knew nothing about IRESS. This is literally my first introduction to a band that have been on the go for 14 years, did you say?
This is the third album, I think, yeah.
Shit. Let me just say that. For a while then. It's been a while. So they've been on the go for a while. I don't know anything about them. With all these things, and it's worthwhile putting out in front, my excitement at the word crucible was because I didn't read the PR statement. I never read the PR statement. I go into these blind. So all I know before I hit play is what the name of the band is, what the name of the album is, how long the runtime is, and what the album artwork looked like. And I'll tell you right now, from the name, IRESS, from the album title, Sleep Now in Reverse, from the runtime of 50 minutes with 10 tracks, and from the album cover, which is like, it's like a prism of purple and blue hued lights with smatterings of pink, maybe a little bit indigo and fuchsia in there, just for shits and giggles. I was like that. Oh, are we going to get a little bit of dreamy, wee bit of synthy, wee bit of spacey, shoegazy nonsense? And we do get a lot of that, but we also get like a swath of doom in there as well. It's definitely it's not the forefront. Does like lean in certain tracks where you get more of an edge, but for the most part, we've said it before, shoegaze and doom are essentially cousins. They may be siblings, actually. One of them dresses colourful and the other's a goth, right? That's the difference between the two. They are so alike in genre, except where one delivers whimsy, atmosphere, and woozy happiness, the other one delivers dread, atmosphere, and woozy nausea. So the two of them are kind of they're strange bedfellows, but great nonetheless. They're the original Odd Couple. So like instantly in hitting play on this, like what I was struck by, and I will put my cards on the table right now, maybe one of the best female vocals I've heard this year. I think this is fucking phenomenal. And I know why you kind of leaned into the king woman side of things. They're on the heavier side, but our chick king woman who's out there doing her thing, she's got a very smoky, raspy tone, but there's so much emotion and soul behind it that everything she sings, I believe. That's where we are with IRESS. Everything the vocalist does here is something I believe wholeheartedly. Like she could read the phone book to me and I would just be in like a pig in shit. It's just so confident and so vulnerable at the same time. It's weird to describe. As a tone that has so much depth. Like you literally, when you're listening to her sing, you can feel yourself leaning into it. It's purely captivating. And then the music everyone in the band knows that, so they write their music around that, and that is fucking genius. So what the band are primarily doing is like a kind of combination of a kind of doomgaze, I think is what we've recently described it as, but definitely dream pop elements in there as well. So it's kind of dream pop doomgaze.
What's a better name?
It is a better name, Dave. I don't know. It sounds like a government department. DP, DG, or whatever it was. I can't. Let's concentrate on the songs. Okay. There is so much of this that reminds me of stuff we're going to be talking about later today. we've recently found that there's a whole genre, which may have existed, may have not existed, I don't know, of bands that are kind of bringing, it's kind of that kind of shoegazy, dreamlike quality to heavier music, but instead of like sitting on top of the heavier music, it actually becomes the driving component, and the heavier parts actually weirdly sit on top of that. It's like the inverse of how you would do it generally, but as a result of that, it really becomes quite captivating to the listener. Like, tracks are never too long. you're kind of like, you like at the 7-minute mark where a track finishes, you're like, and you could have went another minute. We would have been fine with that. It's the way they're structured. What these guys are doing here is playing with those ideas of kind of the shoegazy or doomier elements, but adding a very, very sensible structure to it. It's a very almost a pop sensibility without the pop song length. And as a result, you get swaths of stuff that is just fucking huge sounding. Like when they hit into a chorus and you get those backing vocals, or even her harmonies, when she doubles up her vocals, it's even more sublime. But these moments are like are crescendos that they mentioned, waves themselves. If those waves were glitter, that's kind of what you feel like, you're being washed in sparkling light. It's so bizarre. It's like the warm bath analogy that I keep using about bands like these, where you sit just at the perfect temperature and you never want to leave. So it starts off almost paint by numbers, which I kind of love. Falling as an opening track is maybe the most unassuming song on here in terms of how it sets things up. It's kind of atypical in song structure. It follows almost predictable movements of where verse to chorus, how you should jump into the second chorus, how you should bring things out. And by the end of it, I was in already. I thought, like, vocally she's fucking amazing. Love the production on this. It's huge, it's dreamy, it's woozy, it's amazing. Just give me an album of that. And the band almost do that, but they don't at the same time. They're smart enough to understand that there are plenty of bands out there just doing that part. The second track is the one for me where I instantly kind of sat up and went, all right, we're doing something different here, where we almost kind of took a more Deftonesian, there we are, we're just going to use that as a description, Deftonesian kind of push on specifically what the guitar was doing. The guitar had more structural impact on the song without it heavying it up. It's not as if you get one track which isn't as heavy and then the next track is fucking heavy as fuck. It just seemed to lean more into kind of almost what Stephen Carpenter would play on some of the quieter moments. And it also doesn't jump into like instantly switching up pace or anything. It actually keeps a kind of quasi-similar tempo to the opening track, Fallen. But this one had a lot more gravitas in the movements, like a lot more, like in between sections, there's a lot more kind of moments in the guitar, which is really, really cool. Transitional moments, and the chord selections are fucking sublime. And I got weird vibes of like bands like A Perfect Circle, especially in like track from their album Merdinal, where they play with like those atmospheres and qualities. So I was in it. I was like, yeah, this is fucking great. But then I was very much curious as to where we were going to go from there. And Mercy's their first foray over 6 minutes. And we've already had 2 tracks comfortably over the 5-minute mark that I was kind of like, is this the formula? Are we just going to have that continuing on? And Mercy is actually one of the tracks that really labours into its pace in a comfortable way. It meanders kind of gracefully through lots of different movements and perfectly sets up the kind of 1-2 punch of tracks 4 and 5, Leviathan and Lovely. Leviathan's subname is The Fog, Lovely's subname is Forget Me Not, which back to back are 2 of the most beautiful tracks I've heard this year. Leviathan is like beautifully haunting, and it's down to the guitar tones, the kind of echoey reverby effects they use, the depth, the space, the atmosphere, but moreover the vocals. She shows a much more cleaner, precise and catchier element on Leviathan the Fog, whilst adding a little bit of melancholy on Lovely Forget Me Not. So we're at the halfway mark, and I am besotted by this album. And you kind of feel like you've if this is a Rubik's Cube, we've seen all the colours that it has, and we've seen how to fit them all together. And we're halfway through it, so this can just fall one way. Now, it's just going to be a repetition to the end. And actually, weirdly, the album then inverts itself in the most beautiful way. The Remains is the next track that kicks in, that instead of going harder or building things up, actually settles into shorter track, 4.5 minutes, settles into a more conventional kind of, not ballady, but it's kind of got a more ballady swoon about it. Really fucking cool. And shows that the band are very comfortable exploring lots of different aspects of a very similar tone. And just when you're like, where's the beef, Dave? You know what I mean? Where's the beef? Where's the meat in this? In Reverse, which is obviously linking back to the name of the album, like builds up this beautiful. It's like the drum work is just really exquisite, really light. Builds up this kind of haunting beauty into Neil Mara or Mera, depending on how you pronounce it. Names are bad with me. Which starts off with a stank. Just comes out with a big old nasty doom riff. And that was at that point I started to think, is the reason I'm loving this so much the very reason that Dave said, because I am desperately awaiting a new King Woman album and I ain't getting it, and they're not giving me it. And this kind of has King Woman ripping out it in the best possible way. You forget when you go back and listen to Celestial Blues that there's a lot of moments in there with clean guitars and echo and quieter moments and her almost speaking into the microphone, as opposed to the heavier stuff that you know, like it's played. And Neil Mera, from my point of view, captures that perfectly. It doesn't kind of falsely lead you in with the heavy guitars before going atmospheric, but doesn't overplay it. Sanctuary is chef's kiss, one of the best tracks on here overall. I absolutely love it. And Deep is an interesting closer, because Deep is the one that's maybe most stripped back. And I kind of love it because there's a degree of vulnerability in it. It takes a lot of the effects off, goes for a more straight approach. And actually, weirdly, it's probably the deepest track on here, because there isn't a lot of effects and stuff to lean behind. It actually feels like the band have stripped back to almost bare bones. Could be an acoustic number. And it reminded me, King Woman once again. The closing track on that Celestial Blues album is Paradise Lost, which is one of my favourite album closers of all time. I fucking love it. And I remember when it always finished, I just felt like like just that exhale of breath. Deep kind of made me feel the same way. It actually plays against everything the band have done on the rest of the album. Very conventional, but finishes in a way where I just kind of feel like you locked in that landing, and that would have been very happy to do. It would be very easy just to keep droning the same riff over and over again for 5 minutes to take it out. You didn't do that. You gave us something short, straight to the point. IRESS, or as I've been calling them, IRESS. I'm glad that Dave has quantified it as IRESS. IRESS, to me, are really fucking interesting. I think they have a lot of strengths. I like that vocal. I mean, every day of the week for me, as she's so commanding. The guitar work is subtle, but it's really, really clever, easy to overlook, and the rest of the band are locked in. Production is awesome. I think the album is the perfect length. It's kind of hard not to say that I fucking loved this, because I did. I've just spoken for about 20 minutes. And that speaks to it. It's an album that I could easily sit and just go over the nuances track by track as to why I think it's fucking awesome. Another album that I didn't even expect from a band that I didn't know, that are once again just going to be with me this year, I think, in the best way. How about you, Church Road lover?
Maybe
your
it is.
Vinyl collection posted on Instagram. Oh, another Church Road. Hashtag Church Road. Hashtag Church Road rocks. Hashtag look at my Church Road.
Maybe it is IRESS. I don't know. I just assumed it was IRESS.
No,
IRESS.
I think now that you've said that, I'm now clear that I have pronounced it wrong. It's IRESS. Yeah, I've been like, listen, Dave. This is the one time I will acquiesce and say that you've probably pronounced something better than I.
I don't know.
How did you get on? You love all this stuff. This is all Wheelhouse Dave.
Wheelhouse Dave.
Wheelhouse Dave strikes again.
I mean, the stars were kind of aligning for this one, Duncan. I mean, I was one step away from getting an IRESS tattoo this week, to be honest. Kind of obsessed with this, to be honest.
Until your wife goes, "Is that IRESS?" and you go, "No, it's IRESS." Wouldn't get another woman's name tattooed on me. You're safe.
Man, I am in love with this album. Hashtag obsessed, man. Like
hashtag in our reviews. I love it. We're that old that we can do that joke and it still feels funny to us. We're like, the kids today are looking at it going, "That's fucking old." Lol.
Yeah, I'm not even going to build up to, did he like it? Did he not like it? I'm not even going to bother.
I had it, and like when I got to the end of this, I was like, "That I love this. Dave loves this.
I love this.
The only thing is who loved it more, and that's it's the arm wrestle that's about to happen here."
This album just like fired a cannonball of emotion straight through my soul when I heard it. From the first song on here, I was kind of speechless. I sat just completely captivated by it, every moment of it from start to finish. And this is like, again, this is why I love what we do. Like some albums come in for review and they impress you with their creativity or their technicality or their downright heaviness, but then there are other albums that just hit you in a completely different way. And I would say it doesn't happen that often, but this year says otherwise, to be honest.
This week, by the way, it says otherwise, man. I don't like I was like sitting like in a blubbering mess in the corner of my fucking living room, just going, "Why is the world so beautiful?" It's like that kid from A Beautiful, what was it, American Beauty, like filming the carrier bag in the wind. It's literally what I was like this week. I was like, everything in the world is beautiful.
Yeah. This type of album, this type of connection just kind of hits on a different level. And I'm not even sure how to put into words how good this is, to be honest. I'm going to try, obviously, because that's why I'm here, but
it's good. I thought it was good, ladies and gentlemen.
I actually wasn't that au fait with IRESS's back catalogue.
So you'd heard them before then?
I'd heard the EP. I heard they released an EP last year, which I'd heard. And then after I'd heard the EP, I was like, all right, they've got 2 albums out before that. Okay, better check those out. So they've got an album called Prey and one called Flaw. Both really good albums. I preferred Flaw. I think that one showed the most promise when their direction kind of shifted and a more kind of doomier end of things. And then the Solace EP from 2023 was like another extension of that. However, Sleep Now in Reverse feels like all the pieces have come together. This is by far the most fully developed IRESS we have ever heard, where they are kind of using their whole range of techniques to express this just breathtaking release of emotion on this album, and the delivery of that emotion is like flawless. It is perfect here on this album. Whilst these tracks aren't like overly technical fundamentally, the way that it's constructed and layered, the various textures they've used, the kind of dynamic shifts they use throughout the album make it something that kind of surpasses technicality. The way they combine these doomy tones with like vibrant kind of shifts into these soft and clean sections is just exceptional. And there's not one track here that feels underbaked or like poorly assembled. That the consistency here on this album is just ridiculous across the board. For me, after hearing all their releases, this is the first time I feel like they've delivered an album where there are no weak points at all. It never drops in quality for a second. And yeah, musically, you mentioned it, it weaves between that kind of really, like, it gets quite heavy at times, like a kind of crushing doom with shoegaze, even little touches of kind of grunge in there as well. And it all just is very seamless, like just flows together. Whatever the genre, it's presented to you in a very dreamlike kind of quality. Like, if you can, I'd highly recommend sitting with a good set of headphones. Late at night also worked really well for me. There was something about listening to this when it was dark that kind of gave this more life for some reason. But you'll just find yourself completely immersed in this album. It's very brooding, it's very ethereal. And the music alone crafts a really like absorbing journey, which is, the music is like equally as cinematic as it is intimate. And they do it in a way that doesn't sound repetitive in any way, which like doom and kind of doom tinged music can often be. But IRESS kind of, the way they kind of change the tracks and rhythm and tempo and the kind of the different levels of heaviness from track to track really give you so much variety on this release. Sometimes it's just a kind of subtle change, and in other times they drag you from something so minimalist and stripped back into this kind of just like a wave of distorted guitars that kind of holds you down with its weight. Vocally though, it's it's kind of a spiritual experience, this album. What an incredible voice Michelle Malley has. Like, her voice ranges from like somber to angelic to sensual to fragile, and it floats. It just like floats over and through the guitars and drums, like just drawing you in with every haunting note. Sometimes it's delivered in a very gentle way, you know, it can to put across the sincerity of the track. Tracks like Mercy, for example, or she pushes her voice to a place that does have a little bit of a kind of crackle to it. And then there's other moments where she just completely soars and really gives you a vocal hook that you'll be kind of humming in your head afterwards, like she does on Falling or in Reverse. But whatever the case, it's always done with real kind of heart and pure emotion on this album. It's one of my favourite vocal performances I've heard in a long time, easily. I kind of find it difficult to talk about highlights on this album because I could really pick out something on every single track that I loved, but I think the opener, Falling, sets the bar really high, to be honest. I thought that was an exceptional opener on this album, but I also really enjoyed Leviathan, The Fog. Something kind of nostalgic about that track. Like, had a bit of like an 80s aesthetic to it. It very weirdly reminded me of Fleetwood Mac and some of their kind of quieter moments for some reason, but the build up to it is brilliant. And then when it kind of releases into those kind of ethereal, floaty kind of vocals, it is just fantastic. However, for me, track 6 and 7, The Remains and In Reverse, could be my favourite kind of double punch of the album. The Remains does have a bit of a King Woman type delivery. It has that melancholic kind of tone, and you know, there's a little bit of smokiness in there. There's also a little bit of Hangman's Chair in the kind of the lead work of the guitar, which was like, I'm a huge fan of that band, so I was like, that's really cool. And the first time I heard it, I thought, right, this is it. This is my highlight of the album. I absolutely love this track. And then In Reverse comes in right after that and kind of almost steals the show. The vocal on that track from Michelle gave me shivers. Like, my
it's not where I thought you were going. Glad that you brought it back.
My goosebumps had goosebumps. You know what I mean? It was like it has a bit of a clean kind of Deftonesy type intro on the guitars, which pairs really well with Michelle's vocal. But it kind of builds for a good like minute before any drums come in. And then when they finally get to that chorus, it is just sublime. Like, it hits levels of kind of finesse that I wasn't really expecting. There's a little off-time groove near the end as well, which I thought was really cool. Just kind of comes in. That was a kind of icing on the cake for me. But as I said, every track kind of had a moment or a highlight, so it's really difficult to kind of to pick out your favorites on this one. I do also think the production plays a big factor into how much this album kind of consumes you. The atmosphere they've captured on this really just kind of elevates those big lush melodies. Also just kind of fills up all the space in your headphones as well. Love the tones of the instruments. The drums are extremely natural. You can hear them kind of resonate with every single hit. And the guitars are very well balanced to kind of deliver heaviness but never overpower anything else in the mix either. Yeah, I mean, like, the only thing this album is missing is a free smoke machine, because it would literally just add the final touch to your surroundings when you're listening to this album. I mean, I'd settle for some dry ice, to be honest, but yes, this is fucking outstanding, basically, and the band should be extremely proud of what they've created here. You can tell they've poured everything into this one. It felt very honest, very personal. Absolutely loved it. Just incredible from start to finish. Final thing, scores for
Epidemic the new... at this point, isn't it? Are we doing this bit? Do we have to do this bit so you can tee up the graphic?
It's part of the show, you know what I mean? IRESS, Sleep Now in reverse. Duncan, what is your score for this album?
Let me debate it. 5.
Twinsies, I will join you on that 5. This is stunning. Like, there's not a thing I would change about this album. Not one single thing. And I imagine I'm going to be listening the shit out of this album right through the year. Probably a vinyl purchase in there somewhere as well. Just saying.
Code like this.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they're doing.
I mean, like, what your strategy? Your thought is their strategy is only get the best bands in so we can guarantee one vinyl sale from Dave.
Yep.
I think there's diminishing returns there. I just think we've found a label that puts quality first.
Yeah.
And have managed to align themselves with bands that I think are just hitting their stride now. So it's a beautiful thing when it comes together, and I think we're in an interesting time for music, man. Every time I keep thinking the shoegazy thing is maybe been overdone a wee bit too. Like, there's too much shit coming into music. You hear a band like IRESS and you're like, that no, we could have more.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, give me more. So
IRESS, Sleep Now in reverse, out on July 26th on Church Road Records and Dune Altar Records in the US. Links below to the band, to the pre-order. Check out one of the singles. I'll put a link below. Have a listen, see what you think. Just sit back and immerse yourself in the world that is IRESS. It's quite remarkable. That is our review. Thank you for checking out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.